Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Together we are the Office Blokes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, back in the studio. Look, it's clean in front of the camera as well.
I know, yeah.
I heard someone jingling all the bottles. Was that you?
I had a bit of a tidy yesterday.
It was only your bottles there, really, weren't they? Might have been one of Mike's, one of mine.
There was Stella cans all over there.
They weren't mine. I don't have a can.
There's a couple of Stella Unfiltered over there. I don't know whose they
in the
were.
bin.
Don't know whose they were.
In the bin.
There was a big one left on the table. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, our Super Bowl watch party went great. Thanks for coming if you were there.
Did.
And there's going to be some compilations of some of the funniest moments and all that sort of stuff coming soon. So keep your eye out for it.
Yeah.
Right, the 10 biggest explosions caught on camera.
Oof. Right then.
It's got to be Chernobyl's got to be one. Number one in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was the one in Japan?
Fukushima.
Fukushima.
That wasn't an explosion though, was it? That was a tsunami
Tsunami that caused
that hit it.
Yeah.
And I think the meltdown is just ongoing, but I'm not sure
Was there no explosion?
I'm not sure
Did it not
if there
cause
was
an
or not.
explosion from the tsunami?
Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember seeing one.
Remember one in there's one in like the Middle
Iran.
East, wasn't there?
Iran.
Is it Iran? Was it? Year or two
Jordan.
ago. It's in one of the.
Was that a chemical factory?
Yeah, was it Jordan?
They had a load of fertiliser or something in a warehouse there. It was
Lebanon.
It might have been Lebanon. Yeah,
It was Lebanon.
I think it was actually.
yeah. I
Beirut
mean,
area.
that was absolutely monstrous. That was really was.
Well, let's find out then. 10 biggest explosions caught on camera. Let's do it.
Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week.
Explosions are either natural
was it, I
or
think.
artificial. Regardless of the circumstances surrounding it, it results in loss of life and property. Here are the 10 biggest explosions caught on camera. Number 10. Chernobyl.
There you go.
In 1986, a nuclear reactor exploded at Chernobyl in Ukraine, which was still a part of the Soviet Union. The blast blew off a 2,000-ton lid off the reactor and sent out 400 times more radioactive fallout than the Hiroshima bomb, thereby contaminating more than 77,000 square miles of Europe. About 600,000 people were exposed to high doses of radiation, and more than 350,000 people were evacuated from the infected areas. The accident killed 30 operators and firefighters within 3 months, and several other people died later. 237 people were diagnosed with acute radiation syndrome, of which some of them died within a few weeks. The disaster was a unique one and the only accident in the history of commercial nuclear power where radiation-related fatalities occurred. The Chernobyl blast contributed to the fall of the Soviet Union. More than 30 years on, scientists estimate that the zone around the plant would be inhabitable for up to 20,000 years.
Shit.
Wow.
You going to say what I'm going to say?
No.
I guess it wasn't caught on camera then.
Oh yeah,
No,
fair point.
true, yeah.
No, I know someone who went because you can kind of pay guides
so,
and you can go there as a tourist
Yeah.
attraction, but there's like Geiger counters out and stuff to make sure you're not in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
But he said it was creepy.
No, I bet it is.
But you literally you get a tour of the whole city. There's a few points you can't go to, but like the iconic, there's like a fairground, isn't there, with a
Yeah.
Ferris wheel.
It's
and
closed.
stuff.
You
go
it's
and
all
see
spooky
that.
closed,
Yeah.
eerie looking.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Not sure I'd risk that.
No, I mean either. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, is it?
Just watch it on telly or something.
What you got to see?
Yeah.
Just a derelict town where an explosion occurred.
Yeah.
You know, it was bad.
That
Yeah.
guy was into urban exploring, and I
Yeah.
guess that's like the pinnacle of urban exploring, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for me.
No,
Number
it's
9. Trinity Blast. The first atomic bomb in history detonated in 1945 and was dubbed the Gadget. It exploded at a force of 20 kilotons of TNT. While watching the test, J. Robert, a scientist, said that all he could think of was the line in the Hindu scripture that talked about death. Nuclear weapons were later used to end World War II and ushered in decades of annihilation and fear. Later, some civilians in New Mexico might have been exposed 1,000 times to
Wow.
public radiation far beyond the recommended limit. A special tour of the site was conducted in 1995 to mark the 50th anniversary of the Trinity test. More than 5,000 visitors were at the venue to commemorate the occasion. The area averages 2,000 to 3,000 visitors yearly and remains a popular destination for people interested in atomic tourism. It is open to the public twice yearly, and the residual radiation at the site is 10 times higher than average background radiation. Number 8.
That kind of plume, the mushroom cloud thing, is just crazy to look at, isn't it?
It's like an iconic sort of visual,
Image.
isn't it,
But
really,
that's-
when it
I
comes
thought
to
that's
things like that.
when they got that little stone pyramid sort of looking thing there. You think they'd have put that the plume on top of it, wouldn't you, to make it look like to replicate the explosion.
They might not want to glamorize it.
Well, it was a test.
Yeah.
It wasn't a disaster, was it?
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. But I mean, what it's led to, nuclear armed, and they've been dropped on Japan twice.
Could have been worse.
Could be, might be. Yeah,
Correct.
8. China warehouse explosion. 2 explosions in the port of Tianjin, northern China, left more than 100 people dead and more hundreds injured. The blast happened in a warehouse containing flammable and hazardous chemicals like ammonium nitrate, sodium cyanide, potassium nitrate, and sodium nitrate. An official of the Tianjin Dongjiang Port Ruihai International Logistics was arrested after the blast. There were suggestions that the water sprayed on the chemicals may have triggered the explosion. Calcium carbide, for example, reacts with water to create a highly explosive acetylene. The China Earthquake Network Center said the first explosion had a power equivalent to 3 tons of TNT detonating, while the second one was 21 tons.
wow.
The second was so big that the satellites orbiting Earth picked it up too. Number 7. Underwater nuke test. On July 26, 1946, the US military experimented with a new type of nuclear test. In charge, the task force suspended an atomic device 90 feet below the water's surface in one of the isolated rings of coral and land that make up the Marshall Islands. The military leaders who proposed the test wanted to prove that their ship could ride out a nuclear attack and that the fleet was obsolete. Nuclear scientists questioned the point of the test as it turned out to be more controversial than expected. When the nuclear device exploded, it created a giant underwater bubble of hot gas. Seconds later, the bubble hit the seafloor and blasted a crater 30 feet deep and 1,800 feet wide.
Wow.
The lagoon's surface erupted into a giant water column shot more than 5,000 feet into the air. LSM-60 and Arkansas, a battleship, were among the first ships to be sunk by an atomic bomb. Many other ships were not spared as radiation levels became dangerously high. The nuclear test slated for the same year was postponed after the aftermath of the first one. Number 6.
Mad that.
Crazy,
Right?
that one.
Just decimated all
Yeah.
the wildlife within miles as
correct.
well.
Yeah.
Who thought of that one?
And exactly.
Eh?
I mean, it was impressive to watch, but
Yeah, but
not
I mean,
worth
wow.
it, is
at
it?
At a cost.
Yeah.
Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal. An explosion at the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal on December 3, 1984 has to be one of the worst disasters in history. The blast killed over 2,000 people and another 200,000 were injured when toxic gas enveloped the city. Bhopal is home to over 1 million people and is located in India's Madhya Pradesh region. A day before, workers on a late-night shift were supposed to make pesticide 7. Within the next 12 hours, a series of errors led to the disaster. There was a problem with one of the tanks, and at about 11 p.m. that night, they noticed a dangerous level of pressure in the tanks. Soon, the workers were having a physical reaction to the leak, but the supervisor wanted to wait for a tea break to investigate the situation. By then, it was too late as the plant blew up in flames by 12:15 a.m. Firefighters tried to stop the gas from escaping the plant, but to no avail as equipment failed to function. The drivers of the emergency buses ran away rather than drive workers to safety. The workers were unable to immediately inform local authorities, claiming that the phone lines weren't working. Number 5.
Proper catalogue of errors, that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a terrible one, that.
Imagine running to the coaches, though, and you see all the drivers legging it off.
I'll be driving the coach.
You'd hope they'd leave the keys, wouldn't you? At least leave them running.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Otherwise, I'd be chasing him down, bringing him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mount St. Helens eruption. Mount St. Helens has been dormant since 1857. However, there was an explosive steam eruption on March 27, 1980, followed by alternating periods of minor explosions. On the morning of May 18, 1980, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake triggered a gigantic landslide on the mountain's north face. The blast reached 660 degrees Fahrenheit and speeds of about 300 miles per hour. The blast was followed by floods, pyroclastic flows, and mud flows. The rivers around Mount St. Helens were buried deep in deep layers of debris and mud. There was also a vertical eruption of gas and ash formed 16 miles away that produced ash falls as far east as central Montana. About 57 people and thousands of animals were killed, and a lateral air blast blew down trees. Hundreds of square miles were reduced to nothing, causing over $1 billion in damage. The May 18, 1980 eruption is the deadliest and economically destructive volcanic eruption in the history of the United States. A film crew that wanted to document the destruction lost their way as the compass spun in circles.
No.
Number 4. Fertilizer plant explosion in Texas. On April 17, 2013, a fire outbreak at the West Fertilizer Company turned into an ammonium nitrate explosion. The facility blew up only 20 minutes after the fire was reported to emergency dispatchers. West, a small town hosting the facility, felt the impact emotionally and physically. Following the incident, the city received support from well-meaning individuals and neighboring communities. The explosion claimed 15 lives, 12 of which were first responders. Over 160 people sustained various degrees of injuries, and the catastrophe wrecked over 500 buildings. This event happened barely a few days after the Boston Marathon bombing, so people thought it was an act of terrorism. Because of the effect of the blast, the West community needed help. Residents donated food supplies and blood to help survivors. Over $290,000 of relief funds were raised, and a vigil was held to pray for people impacted by the explosion. The explosion was national news that the then President Barack Obama attended the memorial service in honor of the victims.
Imagine a relatively small place like that with 12 first responders killed.
I know.
Like, everyone's going to know someone, aren't they? Or be connected.
Of course they are.
That's a proper rough one.
Yeah, it was.
Not the biggest explosion out of the lot, but I think obviously,
It was big,
though,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Number 3. Tsar Bomb. On October 30th, 1961, a specially equipped bomber flew towards Novaya Zemlya, a remote island used for nuclear test. It was accompanied by a smaller plane equipped with a movie camera and instruments for monitoring air samples. Attached to the underside of the aircraft was a thermonuclear bomb that couldn't fit inside the interior bomb bay. Tsar Bomb's yield is estimated to have 57 megatons, about 3,800 times the power of the 15 kiloton atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. When the giant bomb detonated over the target, it was so powerful that it destroyed everything within a 2-mile radius. In Soviet towns from 100 miles away, wooden houses were destroyed and brick and stone structures were damaged. Tsar Bomb's test was symbolic as it escalated the tension between the Soviets and the US. This bombing made headlines in the US, but the government wasn't impressed by the display of nuclear destruction. It's more than 60 years after this detonation, yet no explosive device has come close to its destructive power.
Now it's time for today's best pick.
A subscriber recently came across this video and thought to share it with us. We had followed this incident long before now, so it was pertinent that we talked about it again. Like him, if you find something disturbing, send it to us and we'll do justice to it. Number 2. Beirut Blast. On August 2nd, 2020, a 2,750 ton of ammonium nitrate exploded on the port of Lebanon's capital, Beirut.
Wow.
Researchers say the explosion's force is one of the largest accidental non-nuclear explosions in history. The blast shattered windows around the capital and destroyed 3 neighborhoods. Over 200 people were killed and thousands injured. Engineering researchers say that the explosion had a force equivalent between 550 and 1,200 tons of TNT. Thousands of tons of ammonium nitrate have been sitting on Beirut's ports for 6 years. The cargo was first abandoned on a ship that sat on the city's port, but was later moved to a nearby warehouse, the site of the explosion. Ammonium nitrate is used in the production of fertilizers and mining operations as an explosive. It's kept safely, but it can explode when mixed with fuel or exposed to intense heat. There have been countless explosions in the 21st century, but the Beirut incident would not be forgotten anytime soon.
Before we move on,
Wow.
Looked like a
That's a
scene
big
out of
one,
a, looked like a scene out of a movie, didn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely
Why you're
hideous.
keeping that for 6 years in a country that's known to get hot temperatures as well. I can only assume the warehouse is temperature controlled.
You'd hope
Yeah,
so, wouldn't you?
maybe,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
that amount of stuff just left there.
Yeah,
If it was abandoned.
it was abandoned. So
Yeah.
the vessel's
Abandoned on the
still
ship,
sat
wasn't it?
there.
So they had to take it off the ship, I suppose,
Yeah.
to be able to use the ship, didn't they? So,
But the ship's probably been abandoned as well. So
Yeah.
no one owns the ship.
yeah.
That's it. Maybe a company's gone out of business
Yeah.
that was hauling it somewhere. and
Yeah,
it's
You're
just-
holding it for any port fees because there'd be port fees inclusive.
Yeah,
if he's,
true,
if he's
yeah, yeah.
alongside, in the pier, you've got to be paying for docking fees and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
You'd think there'd be procedures about holding hazardous materials.
There is.
so
It's there for 6
There is.
years, though. You think they'd at least sell it on, maybe say, right, you know,
I don't think you,
Itemize
you
it.
probably can't just sell ammonium
well, black
nitrate.
market on eBay, stick on eBay.
It does happen a lot because it depends who wants it and how much how much you got to recover.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So there might be an ongoing legal suits going on for holding that sort of cargo. Depends
Yeah.
who owns the cargo, you see, because the ship
Yeah.
owner won't own the cargo.
And I suppose something that is that explosive. I suppose if you owner of the Beirut company that with the warehousing, they've got to be careful, like you say, who they sell it onto. It could be to anyone.
But it won't be them that sells it. It'd be government. It depends who's owed money. But the government will confiscate it.
You probably need licenses to sell things like that.
Absolutely. think so.
The government has to get involved.
Yeah.
Crazy blast though, that. Isn't it?
Yeah, terrifying.
I have a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. Just leave a like on the video, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And you'll get 25 years of good luck. Try it.
Not bad.
It really works.
Well worth it.
Number 1. Halifax explosion. In 1917, a French cargo ship loaded with explosives for World War I accidentally collided with a Belgian vessel in Halifax, Canada. It exploded with more force than any known artificial explosion before it. The force is said to be roughly 3 kilotons of TNT. The blast sent a white plume 20,000 feet above the city and provoked a tsunami as high as 60 feet. There was total devastation that killed about 2,000 people and injured 9,000. Naval personnel and the military worked with the civilians to bring relief to the affected people. Cities like Truro took in the homeless and stores donated to the needy. The Canadian and British governments donated millions for reconstruction, while the US organized a relief train filled with nurses, doctors, and supplies. To this day, the province of Nova Scotia sends a Christmas tree yearly to Boston as a
Nova Scotia. They said Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Never heard of that.
Me neither.
Maybe he's right.
I don't know if when the bomb went off in Manchester, I was in Altrincham at the time, and I was getting my hair cut, and I felt the vibration, and we all looked at each other and went, what was that?
Yeah.
Sort of thing, and that's when the bomb went off in Manchester. But it was like, these.
That's right.
That's the only time I've really been around, like somewhere where a blast has gone off, and you thought,
What year was that?
95.
95. Yeah, I was 9.
It was 95 or 96.
I
96 actually.
I was in Manchester when there was an IRA threat, and it was like they evacuated Market Street and stuff. But luckily,
we were there the night before.
happened.
The night before that happened. It's but yeah, when you see something that's like a massive explosion, so you can imagine what kind of movement these kind of make when they're huge explosions like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You wouldn't
these
know.
are huge.
It'd be so disorientating that you just wouldn't know which way is up. Would
Yeah,
you?
if you're close by, I'm talking about even if you're far away.
Yeah,
and you're not impacted by the actual explosion, the actual the movement and the noise that it'll make. It'll probably sort of like bring you up a little bit. And what was that?
They'd be like, what the hell was that? Especially if you're not like, if it's not like a war situation, just everything's sort of like as normal. It'd be like, gee, what the hell's that?
I mean, I can hear him piling around the corner here in my office and he's shaking.
Yeah.
They're piling just a couple of miles away, sort of thing. So you can imagine
not far, is it? I don't think.
No.
This is another one that's not caught on camera, though, isn't it?
Well,
technically not. No.
I've been on there when you go to some ski resorts where there's avalanche risks. They have these giant gas pipes that they release gas for a while, ignite it, and it explodes. So sometimes you woke up in the morning by huge explosions. But obviously that's controlled and it's not contained, so it's not as. I don't think there's anywhere near as much force as these, where it's in a
just mega, aren't they?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That one in Beirut was just like
that's unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
token of friendship for the 8 Bostonians rendered in December 1917. There you have it. These are the 10 biggest explosions caught on camera. Would you mind telling us about a blast you've witnessed and how it played out? Don't forget to...
We just did. That was a great video.
Yeah, we did. When we were in cargo, you get sort of like taken on bomb disposal or bomb recognition sort of courses and stuff. You're not bomb disposal.
Say bomb disposal. Not you doing that.
No. Cut the red one.
Fuck yeah.
I was going to have a beer first. Hold on.
But what they do, they pass a live bomb around, sort of like
really?
on the table, and it was like I don't know, it's small, but the impact they could make, sort of thing. They're all like looking at this bomb. As soon as it got to me, I was just like, fuck it. Don't want to know. But I'm in the same room anyway. Whatever happens to that bomb, if that does go off, then we're shot anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was it? Was it like C4 or
Semtex?
Semtex.
Play music while you did it.
No, the guy was
Let's stop using it. You've got to keep hold of it.
Yeah, I know. But so they're so interesting to find out how they're done, because it's one of these things like, I think when you first sit down on the course, I'm going back years when I was probably about 18, 19, and they say, draw me a picture of a bomb. So everyone's like, looking at each other. So I just drew like one of them cartoon ones, with the fuse coming out and said bomb on it.
Yeah.
I went, that's definitely what a bomb looks like.
Yeah.
He just went, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And they kind of tell you that bomb comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes, type thing. But this is, these explosions, none of them were really. I mean, some of them are bombs, like controlled stuff.
Yeah.
But the main explosions weren't anything to do do with a bomb.
No.
No, not
No,
at
the
all.
chemical was just sort of like
That's it,
exploding.
just,
That Beirut one was just ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
When you saw the
Mega.
buildings, how they were being destroyed,
It's
it
like you
looked
can see
it was
like
a
the
scene out of a
shockwaves
movie.
coming up straight away
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've been following this story in Turkey about the earthquake, Turkey
yeah.
and Syria, and I see the devastation on some of them buildings that people
Yeah.
lived in, and you see some of the sides of the buildings where it's come off, and the buildings like been split in two,
Yeah.
and you've seen people that just would have been right there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
their living room or the bedroom.
They've
The worst
arrested
thing
a-
was, I think it was overnight as well, so a lot of people were just in bed as well,
Yeah,
weren't they?
correct,
Which
yeah.
made it even worse. So
they've arrested a load of the contractors, haven't they, or the building companies?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I've seen that.
like there's some instances where they're saying that the concrete was basically like sand. You know, it was that badly made.
Yeah.
it was just people had no chance.
Yeah, it's shocking. That it's just
bad
bad.
news. Very terrible.
Yeah, it's
Absolute
bad
tragedy.
stuff. Anyway, this is what happens with things like this, isn't it? You know, the explosions like that, or the earthquakes, and mass devastation.
Yeah.
You know, sad. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.